On behalf of the OOIDA Foundation, we would like to welcome you to this session of OOIDA's Business Education Series of online training. This series is the most comprehensive series of business education that has been designed exclusively for the professional truck driver. There are a lot of drivers who are really good at driving a truck, but struggle to make a living in the industry. With these presentations, we're trying to help the drivers who excel at operating a truck understand how to be a successful business person. This education series is intended to help drivers navigate the business side of the trucking industry by providing an accessible and relevant introduction to the management principles of operating a successful trucking business. We would also like to congratulate the thousands of attendees who have taken part in this series. Your overwhelming response has helped to ensure that these programs will continue into the future. This program is being sponsored in part by Trucker Tax Service, Fine Truck Service Incorporated, Aero Truck Sales, DAT Solutions, Road Law, Landline Now, and Landline Magazine. If you're not familiar with these organizations, you should be. These organizations are truly friends of the professional trucker. Please give them your support. All right, let's start this program off by saying right up front, the road to passing a new entrant safety audit can be a pretty rough road, and unfortunately, not everyone completes the trip. If you've got the guts to take on this challenge, we'll teach you the tips and tricks gained from helping hundreds of drivers get down this road successfully. If you're going to go down this road with us, I'm going to tell you right up front, it's going to require commitment and attention to detail and a lot of work on your part. But if you've come this far, it's obvious that you're serious about completing this trip. My name's Tom Gann, and I'll be your host for this program. In this program, I'll be joined by Tom Weekly. Tom is the Director of Operations for the OOIDA Foundations. What Tom and I have done is taken all the steps required to pass a new entrant safety audit and divided them into 5 parts. Each part's going to be approximately 20 minutes in length and filled with a lot of detailed information. Each part builds on the information provided in the previous part. So for that reason, we recommend that you start with Part 1 and work your way through each of the individual parts in order, 1 through 5. And of course, the great thing about online education is you can go back and replay any part of any program as many times and as often as you would like. In this particular program, we're going to be covering Part 1. We're going to be talking about what a new entrant safety audit is, why it's important, and what you're going to have to do to complete it. We've got a lot of material to cover, so let's get started. Tom, I used the OOIDA authority agent to help me get my authority, and boy, I was glad I did. And I remember during that process that they told me that I was going to get a letter from FMCSA and telling me I was going to have to go through a new entrant safety audit. And quite frankly, I wish I'd have paid a little bit more attention to what they were telling me, because now I did. I got the letter just the other day like they said I would, and I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing. Let's talk a minute about what is a new entrant safety audit and why do I need to go through it?
Okay, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which is the federal agency that governs and regulates the trucking industry, looked at a few studies that had been done and noted that those who are just entering into becoming a motor carrier for the first time have a higher violation rate on a number of regulations, as well as some indication that they have a higher crash rate than those that have been in business for a while. So they've taken it upon themselves to initiate, back in 2009, what's called a new entrant safety audit. And this is doesn't take the place of a compliance review, but it's very similar to what a compliance review is. If those of us have been in the industry for a number of years know that a compliance review is very time-consuming, that it is something that they audit your books, they do all those kinds of things to make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing as a motor carrier. So the new entrant safety audit was designed basically as a learning tool. They want to come in before you really get going real good, before you get established as a carrier, before you, I guess, establish some bad habits. They want to get in there and say, okay, let's take a look at your operation. Let's see if you have all the knowledge necessary to run as a motor carrier. And the idea is then to help you clarify some things, clear up some things, maybe to educate you to some degree on what you may or may not know about running your business. And I know that almost seems like they're interfering with your business, but that's not the goal that they have. However, if you were to fail a new entrant safety audit, which you can do, and in the last couple of years, the average has been 45 to 50% of carriers who take this new entrant safety audit fail the audit. And you cannot operate if you fail the safety audit. Now, they may give you a little bit of time to correct some things, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But the whole idea of the program was to be an educational tool to look at what they call your safety management system, which most of the regulations are based on. At SMS, the CSA is based as part of the safety management system. So what they're saying is you need to have in place a good safety management system, and that will help assure that you're going to be a safe operating carrier.
Now, I know that the new entrant safety audit is pretty much a paperwork thing, but it really does sound like I'm going to be out driving a truck. You know, they're trying to help me prevent being in an accident, and we keep throwing the word safety around all over the place, but it's really not driving the truck or have anything to do with driving the truck, is it?
No, it really isn't. And that's part of the problem we have with the new entrant safety audit is it really doesn't. They do look at your accident rate. They will look at that, your accident rate compared to the number of miles that you drive. And
it better be low. I'm just starting.
And it should be. But they normally let you operate. They're not going to come out within the first week or two or the first month or so. They're normally going to allow you to be in operation for a certain period of time, usually a few months. Now, again, this has just recently changed in the last year. They used to have an 18-month period before they would come out and do they had to come out and do a new entrant safety audit. They've changed that and shortened that period to 12-month period. So within 12 months, they will come out. But they want you to have run. They want you to be operating. So you do have some of that data available to them. And one of the things they're going to look at is how many miles you've been running and your accident rate and compared to that. And they can do that, of course, in your past history as a driver also, and kind of look at how you did as a driver. So you're going to have a lot of paperwork, and you're right. It's basically a paperwork type of audit. They're not going to watch you drive the truck. They're not going to see if you're a safe driver by getting in the truck with you. They're going to see if now that you're starting as a carrier, they're going to make sure you have all that paperwork correct.
Now, I'm typically out driving and my wife is at home running the business. Do I need to be there or can she take care of that?
If it's whoever's name is on that registration, if your name is the one that has the operating authority or your wife's name or the combination of you, whoever's name is on that registration as operating that business is the person that has to be there. If your wife's name is on there, and a lot of guys do that, they'll put the wife or their significant other's name on there as the person who actually has the operating authority, that's the person they're going to want to talk to the most. That's the person that they're going to ask the questions of and look at more closely. So if it is your wife and she's just been doing the business part of it, she may not know all the regulations and you need to be there, or maybe she needs to be there for you. If you know the regulations but you don't particularly know how the business is being run, she needs to be there to answer those kinds of questions. It's preferable that everybody within the carriers, or if you're the carrier now, your organization, be there if at all possible. If you got some drivers, that's not necessarily they be there, but certainly the person who helps run the business end of it needs to be there.
Will they do any kind of audit of the truck or anything?
They can and sometimes do, but not normally. Not in a new entrant safety audit. That's not the normal procedure. They can, and if they see some things that bothers them, they may. If they come up and drive up to see you, and you've got your truck parking there, and it's leaking oil, and the cab looks like somebody's lived in it messily for the last 2 or 3 months, they can do an inspection right there. And so it's like I say, we're going to talk a lot about that. It is a lot of perception, how they perceive you. If you look like a person who is trying to do the right thing, if you're trying to be organized, if you're trying to make things right, then they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But if they come up there and they do see a truck that's leaking oil all over the ground, or it hasn't been washed in forever, it just looks bad, they can immediately do an inspection as part of the program. Not normally, but they can. So it's, again, you want to make sure everything's in order. And let me reemphasize something. They will normally, one of the state agencies will come out, and very rarely does anybody from FMCSA come out, because they really don't have the manpower to do that. So they give that to somebody within the state. Whoever operates the commercial vehicle safety program within the state. It may be a Public Utilities Commission. It may be the Highway Patrol. It may be a third party that FMCSA hires to do that. So, they will normally send you out something that kind of tells you what you need to have on hand and be ready with.
Tom, if I've got to be back at the office for a meeting, I'm not running, so that's costing me money. What do I need to have to be ready when they come out? I don't want to have to drag this thing out over a period of time.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to drag it out, and you want to get through this as quickly and as efficiently as you can. And in fact, if you can be efficient with it, you can have this done in a matter of a few hours, and they'll be in and out of there, and you get a great report, and you can go ahead and operate. But let me reemphasize, you need to be there. Unfortunately, we've had some situations here and had some calls into here where our members have said, I'm supposed to meet them and they didn't show up, and they canceled my authority. What's going on here? And be very upset by that. And then when we checked into it further, what we found out was that our member had already missed 1 or 2 meetings that had been set up, because he had loads to run and he needed the money, and if he was going to make a living, he had to do that. And so he just kind of expected the FMCSA representatives to come at his pleasure, which basically they do. They will come out and set a time that's convenient for both of you to operate. But if you've got to show up for those meetings, because they don't have to keep coming back time and time again.
And this is serious business. You're going to have to get through this.
This is serious business, and if you want to keep a bottom line, any kind of money, you better show up, or they can put you out of business right there and then. And you will have to go through the whole process again. It isn't like you get to start there again and say, oh gosh, I'm sorry, and I'll make another appointment, promise to be there. You will have to go through the whole reapplying for authority process again. And you know how much time that took. So make your appointment, be efficient, be there, and yes, just plan ahead right now that you're going to have to miss a day of work in order to get this done.
And what should I have when the inspector shows up? What do I need to have?
Okay, there may be some things that you're not aware of, and you probably won't be aware of, and we're going to go through most of what that is and what they're going to be looking for. But they'll normally, whoever's going to do the inspection will probably send out kind of a checklist they want you to have available. Some of the things you may not be aware of, they're going to want you to have your federal tax ID number, your EIN or your Social Security number, whatever it happens to be. They want you to have that. They're going to want to know what your gross income for the last year is, or since starting operations, what gross income, not net, what your gross income has been.
Now, that's for the operation my new authority.
Right, that's under your new authority.
That
And you've
doesn't
been-
have anything to do with what I did prior to
No, not as a driver. You have, or at least on and on before. This is if what have you been doing? Been operating for 6, 7, 8 months. What's your gross income from the time you started till now? And they're going to want to know what your fleet miles have been for the last few months. Also, how many miles have you driven? You're going to want to have that insurance information. If you're a for-hire carrier, which you probably are, you want to bring a copy of your MCS 90 or MCS 90B, which is your endorsement, your insurance endorsement, and your BOC 3s, which I know that if you listen to the last webinar, you know what that is. That's your process agents, basically. And the company information, such as the date you started your business or your corporation. And if you have a corporation, you're going to want to have that information about when it was incorporated and your incorporation papers and certificates. And you want to have your driver's list if you have drivers. If you don't, of course, you're just yourself. Accident records that you've had, inspection, repair, and maintenance files. You want to have those on hand, and we'll go through each of those a little bit later. But you want to make sure you have all that, complete records of all those kinds of things. And if you do haul hazardous materials, you're going to have certain things for that too. And again, we'll cover that a little more thoroughly.
What about my logbooks?
All that is part of it, yeah, and we will go into all that you're going to have files on. And now they'll send you a little checklist to let you know that. Most states do that, so you kind of have prepared, because they don't want to spend a lot of time there either. It's very time consuming for them. There's a lot of new entrant safety audits being done, a lot of new safety audits out there to be done, and 45 to 50% unfortunately fail that safety audit. And like I say, if you fail it, it isn't a matter of going, oh gosh, let me try again. You may get a corrective action plan that you have to do if it isn't real bad, where they give you some time to correct it and they come back. But if you don't have a lot of the things that they're asking for, you're not ready for that thing, they can basically make you go through the whole process again.
And don't worry, if your state doesn't send you that list, we're going to give you one here. We're going to go through and create our own list as
we definitely
this
are.
program goes on. Okay, it looks like we're completely out of time. If you've got any questions or comments about this program, or if you'd like a certificate of completion for this program, just send us an email to businesseducation@ooida.com. And don't forget to tell us which program you're referring to. And please don't forget our sponsors, who take educating America's professional truck drivers as seriously as we do. We hope you'll join us online again for additional programming in the OOIDA Business Education Series. This series has been designed to give serious business education to truck drivers who take their business seriously. For information on all of the educational programming provided by OOIDA, visit us at www.ooidaonlineeducation.com. And don't forget, OOIDA has been fighting for the rights of all truckers since 1973. You can join the fight by becoming a member of our organization. Give us a call at 800-444-5791.